everybody. Welcome to Rock and Roll Shin-Soo, episode number 55. My name is Gabe Estel. I'm here with my co-host Dennis Levi Leach and Jonathan Getz. How's it going, guys?
Double nickels on the dime, baby.
Excellent. Well, you know what? We've got a special show tonight, something we're going to be trying a little bit different, where we are able to spotlight an artist. We're going to call this Scouting Bob Dylan. So tonight's episode, episode number 55, that might be how many roads a man has to walk down. All right, maybe we've quantified that answer for Bob. All right, so anyway, so we're looking forward to it, and all this was really prompted by the rumors, probably soon to be substantiated, of the festival, which doesn't, to my knowledge, have a name yet, that's going on, that's supposed to go on out in California, in Indio, same grounds where they hold Coachella and Stagecoach, in October. And the list is kind of a sort of a classic rock fan's wet dream, I think.
Yeah, if I was 16 years old, I would be like driving across country to go.
Yeah, right.
Like before it was
and when
even
you
announced.
were 16, all these people were already old. Now they're
Correct.
even older. Yeah.
And so, yes, we have dubbed it Ol'chella, TM.
Nice work. So yeah, just to give everybody some of the bands that are mentioned in all of the press about the rumors about the event: Rolling Stones, The Who, Roger Waters, Neil Young,
Macca.
Paul McCartney, and tonight's scouting report, tonight's spotlight, Bob Dylan. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started with just kind of a general overview of what many people consider to be the most important songwriter in rock history. So we're going to talk about, just give an overview first, and then we're going to do a little bit, have some fun with picking our desert albums for Dylan, a round robin style. And then also we're going to throw out what would be a dream Bob Dylan set list. Okay.
At Coachella. At Ol'chella.
At Ol'chella, yes. So what if we were in charge of writing a set list at this geriatric rock festival that's happening in October? This is what we'd write. So anyway, so we've got three agenda items, all related to Bob Dylan. Okay, so why don't we go ahead then and get started with just a little bit of general overview about old Robert Allen Zimmerman. So all of us have seen him live, right? Let's start there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, we all have.
Yeah,
Okay.
I saw Phil Lesh open for him. When I saw him, it was in Champaign.
That's the only time you've seen him, though, right?
Yep.
Okay. I've seen him, I'd say probably 4 or 5 times. A couple times though at festivals. I think he played at Bonnaroo. The first time I ever saw him actually was the best, and maybe the atmosphere had something to do with it. It was in 2001 at the Illinois State Fair, right?
I was there.
Yeah, which I thought was an awesome show because he had a really smoking band with him at that time. He had Larry and Charlie on guitars. Their last names. It's not Larry Carlton, right? It's you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
The guys he had on guitar. Anyway, he had a really tight band that night, including a guy on stand-up bass. And I thought the band sounded great. The atmosphere was fun. It was a summer night. It was the state fair. And all of the songs, even though his songs have really changed a lot in how he performs them. He performs them much differently than they sound if you hear those songs on the radio. And he's been doing that for about 35 years or so, ever since like the late 70s, early 80s. Yeah, he's been doing that. So that's not something new. So if someone doesn't know that and they go see Bob Dylan, they're probably not going to recognize a lot of these songs until
he gets to the chorus.
Until he gets to the chorus, basically. So this isn't something new for him to switch up these arrangements for popular songs. So we've all seen him live. The other times that I saw him live, those 3 or 4 other times I saw him, it didn't quite have the same energy and at least effect on me than that first time that I saw him. Even the most recent time I saw him, I left early. So if that tells you anything.
I saw him also in 02 or 03 in Ames, Iowa. He played the Hilton Coliseum. And he did a couple Warren Zevon songs that night, which was nice. Nice to hear, including Mutineer, one of my favorite Warren Zevon songs.
Right.
He'll pay homage.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, definitely. And his set list, they don't... He performs the songs differently. The arrangements have changed. But his set list is sort of a mixture of staples, if you will, and then, whatever, some of his more recent material as well. I want to talk a little bit about just, in the trilogy. First of all, he's got a ton of records, right? He's got over 40 albums. I think that the period of the Christian albums is one of his more underrated periods. For those of you who don't know, and I'm sure most people do, he converted to Christianity in the late 70s. So he put out 3 records that were heavily influenced by that conversion, right? Slow Train Coming, Saved, and then Shot of Love. 79, 80, 81, I think, is how those shook out. And, they're gospel records, essentially. And I listened to them over the last week, and they were better than I expected. I mean, I'd heard them a couple times before, and I heard a few of the tunes from Slow Train Coming, I think, live. But they were better than I expected them to be. I mean, I felt like they were, even though Dylan is always kind of a guy that seems to be messing with everyone's head a little bit, I felt like they were really earnest efforts, and they reflected who he was at the time. So I don't know.
I thought
guys.
Slow Train Coming, it was solid.
Yeah.
Musically, and lyrically, it was not quite as overt as Saved and Shot of Love, which it's a weird thing when people sing about Jesus. For some reason, at some point, it turns like all of these songwriters into like this lowest common denominator of like awful songwriters. It can do that. I'm not saying it did that to Dylan on every song, but on some songs, it's like, wow, Dylan, I could have written this song.
I agree. I think it's some of his weaker work. Some people say that led the way towards there being like a mainstream Christian music scene, though, like in the 80s. So, I mean, I guess if he kind of helped start that, that's kind of neat. But I don't think it's some. I compiled a list of records that I thought you could possibly do without in the Dylan catalog, and those are on it.
Yeah. I don't think they're his best work, but I think they're better than most people claim.
I would listen to Slow Train Coming before I listened to a lot of his stuff that he released after 1990. Yeah.
Well, also with those 3 records, I think, like I said, I think it was 79 to 81 or 82 those came out.
Mm-hmm.
You're not getting too far into the 80s yet. You know what I mean? You ever listen to those records that are like from like 80 to like 83, and they still sound like they could have come out in the 70s, right? Yeah. Because the 80s like we hadn't reached like Phil Collins levels of production yet, right?
Mm-hmm. Not for everyone.
I think those benefit from that. They probably would have been even worse if they were released maybe like 2-3 years later.
Right. And Empire Burlesque is
I was going to say, yeah,
classic example. Yeah. With like Empire Burlesque had songs on it, well crafted songs and musicians, to say the least. But the production was just shite and turned it into just an awful output.
Yeah. So, the production still, it's got kind of still a little bit of a, because maybe they're gospel influence, it's got kind of a rootsy production value to all of them, particularly Slow Train Coming. Slow Train Coming musically doesn't veer that far from Street Legal, which I think was his previous one, which I like a lot. I think Street Legal is really good. The themes are obviously much different.
And unfortunately, on both of them, he uses a little bit too much backing vocals for my taste.
Yeah.
They get a little redundant.
Yeah. Well, it's rare for someone to declare their religion so overtly. Most artists kind of shy. A lot of pop artists shy away from that. And I think these works in the Dylan canon, they kind of reflect a period that's kind of often maligned. Because I think so much of his previous work, the work that most people think of him like when you say Bob Dylan, most people think of like him singing during the civil rights movement, playing an acoustic guitar.
Oh,
I think at least, right? That's what most people think of. During that, go ahead.
I was going to say, in the 60s, he was untouchable.
Yeah, during that time, and, he was a trailblazer. During that time, so much of his work was kind of like taking aim and being critical of all of those social institutions,
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was, I don't want to go as far as say it's protest music, but in some ways it was, So then you switch to the late 70s, early 80s, and, he's telling everybody they need to believe in God. So I think maybe that shift or that different perspective,
protest music
people were bothered by that, I think.
Yeah.
They were caught off guard.
Yeah.
What I think people need to take into context is that protest music is a young man's game.
Right.
True.
I mean, it's hard to stay relevant in that field of music for a very long time.
Yeah. And I've always respected, I think Levi's right there. There's just the energy around protest seems to be.
And, he definitely had a lot of energy on those early albums. And I don't think it was, well, and I'm saying this in context of, being reverential to him. And so I'm being nitpicky. But in those first 4 albums, up to Another Side of Bob Dylan, great songs, but sometimes that harmonica, man, just like pierces your skull. And you just gotta cut it down.
I agree.
The mixing of those records.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Play off the harmonica, man.
Yeah, I hear you. It is.
It was like he was learning the instrument on record.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, and just I think we got to say this before we go any further. He's a weird dude. You know what I mean? He's just kind of a weird. And I mean that in the best possible way.
Oh, yeah.
But you ever watch interviews with him? He's
all his interviews from back in the 60s, he's surly.
Yeah, he's surly, he's grumpy. And I even watched some of the interviews from like the 1980s. Even then, 20 in some case, 20 years into his career, he's an icon. He's still really nervous during interviews too. I mean, he's definitely an introvert.
On the defense.
Yeah, he's defensive. I think that, and who knows, maybe I would be the same way if all of a sudden everybody's like, here is the voice of a generation.
I can't imagine.
Gabe Estel.
Well, yeah,
you know what I mean? Like he's probably
he was the choice of a generation, man.
Yeah, I'm sure his reaction was probably like, oh, fuck this, like I don't blame him. Yeah. So anyway, guys, let's go on and head to the second portion of the night where we're going to look at what we would consider the desert island picks for Dylan. Okay, and we're going to do it round robin style,
like a fantasy baseball draft.
Like a fantasy, but so when one
album we're doing there, we're mixing this shit.
Yes. So if Levi picks a record, I can't pick it. Okay. So if Levi picks a Dylan record, that one's off the board. All right. So let's go ahead and start. We didn't determine our order, though.
I think Levi should go first because he seems kind of most jaded by a lot of Dylan's output.
Yeah.
So right. I don't want to leave him on a desert island with something that will make him want to drown himself.
Levi's gonna be left with Empires the Burlesque and nothing.
I'm like, I respect Bob Dylan. Like I said, in the 60s, I think he's untouchable. The entire
a lot of our favorite songs,
yeah,
other people wrote, you can trace back to the fact that they heard him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and I think I almost like it when other people do Bob Dylan songs. over. You know what I mean? I don't know. Yeah,
you're in luck because there's a new box set coming out with about 70 songs on it.
Okay, well, my first album pick, I'm gonna go big or go home. They say, right? I'm gonna go with Freewheelin' Bob Dylan.
Wow,
iconic.
It's got 4 of his biggest hits: "Blowin' in the Wind," "Girl from the North Country," the original version, the non Johnny Cash duet version, "Masters of War," and "Hard Rain's Gonna Fall." And I remember getting that record when I was probably like 18, and I still have it on vinyl. And it was I have, I don't know, a handful of Bob Dylan, 6 or 7, and I listened to them first, and then I went to listen to more online, and he's almost Prince-like in that there's not a ton of his stuff on YouTube, or like there's not a ton of his original versions, like you can find live stuff, but
at least he's on Apple Music, man.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that's my first one, Freewheelin' Bob Dylan.
Wow. All
right, going big out of the gate. Jonathan, go for it.
All right, I am going with the 1969 output Nashville Skyline with the better version of Girl from the North Country with Johnny Cash. And
I agree.
The album's a lot of fun.
Yes.
I think I really like the production of it. Dylan sings like nothing you ever hear on any other record.
The record right after that, New Morning, he was still doing it. It was called called his country crooner phase.
Right,
right.
Yeah. It threw people off. Like, Nashville Skyline, like at the time, like people were like, huh?
I remember the first time I heard Lay Lady Lay, and somebody told me it was Bob Dylan. I was like, really?
Yeah.
First time I heard Lay Lady Lay was on a bootleg, like a Pearl Jam bootleg, and I think the dude from Ministry was singing it.
Crazy.
Oh, Al Jorgensen?
Yeah.
I've heard that too. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think it was Bridge Benefit, like 96.
Yeah.
But Nashville Skyline, my first pick.
Cool. All right, my first pick, guys, I'm actually going into the 70s here. I like 70s Dylan, most of it. So I'm going to go with Desire as my choice.
A good one.
Yeah, oh yeah. That's, if you would have asked me, like, maybe when I was in college or something, I probably would have said, Freewheelin' Bob Dylan or Bringing It All Back Home, one of those early works. But this was kind of mid-career for him, and I really like the storytelling on it, and all of the characters. Obviously you got.
It's one of the only
Joey and Hurricane. Yeah, go ahead, Levi.
It's one of the only 2 records where he had a co-songwriter.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And the story goes that violinist, the lady that they got on that record, Dylan saw her on the street carrying a violin case and was like, "Hey, do you want to play on my record?"
Oh, no kidding.
Right place, right time.
That violin on
it shapes the sound of that record, man.
Oh, it does. God. Yeah.
So good point. I wasn't even going to mention that how great the violin is. But yeah, that's my favorite Dylan record. It's become that in recent years. So and then I think the Rolling Thunder Review tour happened right after that. I think.
Right.
Yeah. So I like that.
That's a good official bootleg.
Yeah, I like that period. I to me this was just kind of I feel like he kind of got his groove back. With Desire. So I'm taking it.
Right
There
on.
we go.
Okay.
All right, Levi, round 2.
This is a tough one. I think I'm gonna go Basement Tapes.
All right, nice.
Sticking in the 70s.
Talk about changing the sound of your voice. It's like you can't believe it's not like Rick Danko singing. It is Rick Danko singing a lot of times. But...
Yeah, their harmonies work really well together. And like, if you think about it, it's 2 guys with really unique voices, and they make that work. And some of my favorite songs on there, of course, "Wheels on Fire" is a great song.
Mm-hmm.
But my favorite song off that record, some people may never even have heard it. It's called "Yay Heavy in a Bottle of Bread." For some reason, I just love the tone that song sets, and just the looseness of it. It almost has. We talked a couple episodes ago about looseness in music and J.J. Cale, and that song has a little bit of like a laid back, just groove to it. And yeah, so Basement Tapes, my second pick.
Nice. Now that's a strategic pick because it's almost like you also have a band album in addition to Dylan, right. So you have both.
Right.
So that will help on the desert island battle the monotony.
Right.
Yeah. Plus, it's weird because that was it was not really a re-release, but it was recorded in '67, right? And then it was released in '75.
Right.
So yeah. All right.
Okay. Let's see. For my second pick, it's a battle, man, between Bringing It All Back Home and Highway 61 Revisited. And I think, though, Bringing It All Back Home has Love Minus Zero No Limit, which is one of my favorite Dylan songs. So I'm going with Bringing It All Back Home.
Nice.
Good choice.
Subterranean Homesick Blues. Maggie's Farm.
Maggie's Farm
rocks.
It's all over now, Baby Blue.
Oh yeah, I can even do without Mr. Tambourine Man. I don't really need it, but it's all right, Mom. Only bleeding. Yeah, it's all over now. Oh man.
Yeah, I mean that's just. I mean, how many iconic songs are on that record, and how many people cover those songs? Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah. He's untouchable in the '60s. That's the third time I've said it.
It's a good dichotomy too, with the first side being more of the band, and then the second side being him solo.
Yeah, right.
Cool.
Gosh, God, I guess one of us has to pick it.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, man, because Bringing It All Back Home would have been one of mine.
I had that right.
You know what? I'm gonna go with Highway 61.
Nice.
Yeah, that one. What's that, like 66? Is that what it is? No, 65. Okay. A lot of stuff changed in 1960.
Yeah, it's his first considered rock record.
Yeah, I mean, you got Desolation Row on it, to end it at 11 minutes. Oh, yeah. Takes a lot to laugh, Train to Cry. I mean, and I could do without hearing it ever again, but like a Rolling Stone is, it's still an amazing song.
Yeah. I think it was like Rolling Stone's like top 500 songs. It was the top song of all time or something.
Yeah. I mean,
revolutionized radio, and
it did.
Yeah, it got people to play songs longer than 3 minutes.
Yeah, 2.5, 3 minutes. Yeah,
absolutely. Ballad of a Thin Man, Queen Jane.
It's loaded.
Yeah. So Tom Thumbs.
It's your Mike Trout of albums.
It was my next pick. Yes. I was like, I can't believe it's still going to be on the board.
Yeah, it's surprisingly. Like, I was like, do I pick it? Like, is it too obvious?
It was. Yeah. Hey, man, this is a desert island. If I'm going, I want heavy hitters.
Yeah.
Well, so my next pick then becomes, after I take a look at the board, I got to go with it then. Blood on the Tracks.
Nice.
Yeah, good choice.
Of course, Tangled Up in Blue is epic, and everybody's heard that song, I would say. Simple Twist of Fate is probably one of my favorite songs of Bob.
It fucking slays me.
So, yeah, the Dead or Jerry, in fact, would do a version of that as well. That was pretty good. It's called the greatest breakup album of all time.
Yeah.
I don't always necessarily think of like that when I listen to it, but
Idiot Win, man, that's harsh. That's harsh stuff.
Oh
yeah.
Ouch.
I had mentioned a minute ago Desire being kind of a comeback record, and not really, actually. I mean, it was more so probably Blood on the Tracks as kind of the comeback record, because that was right before Desire.
True, yeah.
So yeah, I misspoke there for a second. I forgot that Blood on the Tracks was...
Desire meant he was here to stay.
Yes, right.
He was back to stay.
Right. All right.
All right. So my third and final pick for the desert island, I'm gonna shake it up a little bit, and so I don't go too stir crazy with the '60s Dylan. I'm going for 1983's Infidels.
Nice.
Mark Knopfler is involved with that. It starts off with Joker Man, which is fucking phenomenal tune. Might make it into our set list here later. Mick Taylor's on that album. And and Knopfler's fingerprints are all over that record. Dylan was interesting in that he would absorb with the musicians he was around and let them almost dictate his sound. You wouldn't think that he would be a guy that would do that, but it sounds just as much like a Dire Straits record as it is a Dylan record, and I think it works. I'm a big Dire Straits fan, so that helps. I can see a lot of Dylan purists who might hate the sound, but I think it's a pretty good sound, especially considering it came from the 80s.
Yeah.
But
probably
License to Kill, I think Infidels is definitely one of his best post 1980 records.
Yeah. You're right, and that was the first album after the Religious records, so it feels even a little bit more like a breath of fresh air, Yeah. Good choice. Gosh, for my last one, and I know everybody's going to wonder why we didn't pick it, but I'm not going to pick it actually. I'm going to go because, like I said, I am partial to 70s Dylan, and maybe it's just as I get older because I exhausted the 60s stuff, during my youth. I'm going to go with Street Legal.
It's solid.
I am. Yeah, I really like that record a lot. It doesn't really have any, and I debated, because I thought about Planet Waves as well, which I like too, and you've got the band on that. I also, it was fun researching this episode and reading about Planet Waves and the subsequent tour. I guess it was just a miserable experience, that tour that he had with the band in '74. Not that they weren't getting along, but it's just everybody was just you know what I mean? They just didn't want it. They needed the money, huge tour. And he had been off the road at least regularly for several years.
And they had to sing Forever Young every night, which would have wore me out.
Yeah.
Sorry,
right.
Not a big fan of Forever Young.
Yeah. Street Legal is, I think, one of the more underrated offerings in the Dylan canon. From '78, so this is right after Desire. This is a couple years after Desire, and the Rolling Thunder Review tour. I like it.
Senior, man.
Yeah. You got Senior on it. You've got We Better Talk This Over, which I like. So it doesn't really, aside from Senior, it doesn't really have any famous Dylan tunes on it, so to speak. Maybe Changing the Guards, I guess, is a little bit popular. I don't know. But it's a really solid start to finish, and it's one of those records that I always listen to start to finish, because it doesn't have any of, aside from Senior, it doesn't really have any singles on it, big singles. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's always just put it on and let it play, I think it's an underrated. I think it's the most underrated album in his catalog. So
yeah, it's a solid album.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with Street Legal. So
wow, nice.
We got through that. None of us picked Blonde on Blonde.
I know. Blonde on Blonde for me is it's a little too long. Just a little bit too long. Right. Weed out a few tunes and.
Yeah. It's not standard length.
I might pick a song or two off of it for our set list, but I didn't think it was worthy enough to take the whole record.
Oh yeah, I've got 4 songs that could be used in the set list, but yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So set list time.
Let's do it. Okay. All right. So you heard our Desert Island picks. We're going with Ol'chella, 20 songs that he's going to play. Now remember, right? This is Bob Dylan performing these songs in 2016, not 1966. And some of the ones that we select were I'm sure were recorded after 1966 anyway.
That's a good point, because when I was listening to a lot of songs that I thought I would want to hear him play, I would listen to him and I'd be like, no, an old Dylan singing this just doesn't seem right. I love the original recording, but I don't want to hear an old Dylan singing this. His interpretation, his reinterpretation.
Right. So this is tricky because, like, we don't necessarily know what he would do with these songs live. I mean, he would they would sound different, but so we're gonna do the best we can here.
Yeah,
right.
I think for the most part we're gonna assume that they would be straightforward interpretations, or if you want to stipulate a certain tour's reinterpretation, go for it. Also, if you want to have a guest from one of the other bands that is supposed to be at Ol'chella, bring them on stage.
Okay, all right. Levi, why don't you kick it off, man? Let's do the opening number.
Okay. What do we kick off the Ol'chella set with? I guess just because it's like the biggest elephant in the room, and if he plays it first, maybe some of the trendy people would leave immediately after they heard it. We'll do All Along the Watchtower. We'll open with that.
All right. Wow. Just right out of the gate. Okay. Well,
that way, the people who are there to just like chill in the cabanas can then just go back to their cabana after that point, because they're like, we saw Bob Dylan.
My cat's questioning the Watchtower selection, but I'm gonna roll with it. I like the energy you're coming out with that. Gabe, do you want me to go next?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. We'll do that in the leopard skin pillbox hat. So Blonde on Blonde gets some recognition.
Okay. All right.
2. Okay. Gaber.
Leopard skin. All right. You know what? I'm gonna go. I'm gonna dial it back a little bit, the energy at least. I'm gonna go with Slow Train, for the third number.
Okay.
All right. Wow.
Kind of a la, if I could, I don't know, like I like the version that on Dylan and the Dead. I know most people hate that record, but I like it. So
nice.
I'm gonna go with Slow Train. All right.
I think my next song is going to be Simple Twist of Fate.
Beautiful tune.
Nice. I'm glad you chose it. I was going to use it to start the encore, but this is how this works. So,
sorry, I robbed you.
You robbed me, but no, I'm glad that he's playing it. I'm stoked.
All right.
So Simple Twist of Fate means we still kind of have it brought down a little bit. I don't know if I'd go three slow songs in a row, but Gabe, what was Slow Train off of?
Slow Train.
Slow Train coming.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
Okay, right on. So let's see, Simple Twist of Fate. That means we 270 songs. I'll go ahead and keep the tempo down and stay in the 70s with Romance and Durango.
Good. All right.
Nice I feel like
so far, guys.
Now everybody's starting to fall asleep.
I was gonna say I feel like we got to kick it up.
Yeah. I guess we do. We do need to boogie because I was like I had another slower one on deck, but it's like shit. You're right.
We'll hit another.
Keep it in the chamber. Keep it in the chamber.
Yeah. You're right. Okay. I gotta think quickly here now. All right. Jesus. Okay. Gosh, I'll go with Tough Mama next.
Wow.
Off Planet Waves.
Okay. All right. So we're still in the 70s.
Yep.
Okay, I feel like I need to take it back a little to the 60s then. I feel like we're going to end up with not one 80s, 90s, or 2000s Dylan song.
I'll give you one or two.
Okay. I think I'm going to go with Maggie's Farm.
Wow, all right. Definitely kicking it up a notch.
Good work. All right.
And we're going to stick in the 60s with Love Minus Zero No Limit.
Okay.
And keeping the tempo up.
All right. Okay. So, all right. Yeah, man, you guys are.
I wonder how McCartney would sound on Maggie's Farm, sitting in maybe.
Yeah. Well, we could add that. We could add a little Amaka's Farm. We could maybe they do Maggie's Farm into Junior's Farm.
Ooh. That would work. I'd be all about that. Okay, hold on. Gosh, not really much to choose from off like I don't know. What,
Now would be a time you could dip it back down, slow it down a little bit.
Okay, there is a song that I like a lot from it's early. It's from it is I think it's on Freewheel, and let me double check. No, sorry. Just a second. It's called um it's okay, I'm sorry, I found it. It's on Another Side of Bob Dylan. I Don't Believe You. She Acts Like We Have Never Met. I like that song a lot.
Wow, all right.
Well, then let's keep the like deep cuts going. I'm gonna go with a song that was actually recorded for his first record, and they decided to choose I forget which song, but they chose another song and decided not to put this one on. And if I think if you listen to it, it could have been like this one of the strongest songs off that record if they would have put it on there. And it's off of the Bootleg Volume 1 through 3 series.
Yeah.
It is called House Carpenter.
What's it called?
House Carpenter.
Okay.
It's an old folk tune, and his version of it is awesome. If you've never heard it, I definitely recommend YouTube it.
What song number was that, Gabe?
Hold on. We are at 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. We got 10. So we're halfway done.
Yeah, second half.
Should this be like the second set then? You know, because he does play 2 sets. It looks like.
All right.
So let's just start with this as the set 2.
All right, so I got
House Carpenter to end the second set. Nice.
I think we're gonna go with Stuck Inside a Mobile with the Memphis Blues again.
All right, that would get the
crowd rocking.
Yeah. Hold on here.
Off of Blonde on Blonde.
All right, good. Let's see. I'm going to go with gosh. Okay. This song takes on a different connotation now because of some current events. But doesn't, even though I love the song ISIS, all right, on Desire. So I'm going to go with ISIS. I know, like, now it's like you mentioned that and everybody's like thinks of, you know, awful things happening, but it meant something else a long time ago. It's a beautiful name too. Unfortunately, it's like I said, right. it's you can't really put a spin on it. No. But yeah, I'm gonna go with ISIS.
All right, bringing it down, bringing the tempo down a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to choose between one of his country crooners. I mean, the two obvious choices are Lay Lady Lay or Man in Me. I think I'll do Man in Me.
Man in Me? Okay. Good. Nice work. La 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 la. All right, Lebowski. Okay. Go for it.
Joker Man. I got to get it in there.
Good choice. Have you heard Built to Spill's cover of that?
I haven't.
On that there's this compilation. I'll post a link to it. There was a Dylan in the 80s covers album that came out a couple of years ago. Like My Morning Jacket's on it, or Jim James is on it, Built to Spill's on it, and they do Joker Man, and it's a phenomenal version of Joker Man.
Looking forward to hearing it.
Yeah, cool. Check it out. Awesome album cover too. You guys, if you just Google the images, you'll see. Yeah, it's called Dylan in the 80s.
Cool.
All right. Huh. Okay. Joker Man.
Kind of a mid up tempo.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what I could do. Hold on here.
And we just jumped into the 80s, but
we did. Gosh. Yeah. Oh man. Hold on. Sorry. Give me I'll do John Wesley Harding. I know.
All right.
I know. We're career. We're spanning the whole career here.
Okay. I think I'm gonna go with Visions of Johanna.
Nice.
Good.
Nice.
Visions of Johanna. Okay, good. So we're at, hold on, 11, 12, 13, 16.
16. So,
Yeah.
All right. So consider this the set closer. What do you do? Three song encore? Or?
He's been doing. He did 2 the other night.
Two. Okay. So this and then yours will be the set closer, Gabe.
Okay. All right.
I'll go with. Oh man, do we save it? Tangled Up in Blue.
Okay. Nice. You know, when I was researching this episode, I wanted to see what he sounded like last year or this year. I found a Tangled Up in Blue from Paris. Or maybe it wasn't Paris, it was somewhere in France. From like October or November of last year. And it sounded really nice. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it sounded it was slowed down a little, but it and sometimes when I hear his voice now, I'm like, ugh. But it sounded really good. Just Google like Tangled Up in Blue or YouTube Tangled Up in Blue 2015.
Right on.
It's close. It's somebody must have been recording from one of the first few rows. But yeah, it's really tender. It's good. All right, so Tangled Up in Blue. Gosh, now I gotta close the second set. Jesus. Yeah. All right.
Better be rocking.
No kidding, man. Oh, I'll go with Highway 61.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, Levi, you're starting the encore here.
All right, encore.
Starting the encore, my last pick. I've got it down to 2 songs. Got it down to Boots of Spanish Leather and My Back Pages. I think I'm going to go My Back Pages.
Nice.
I think that's a good. I think it's a
thematically,
good that's real appropriate. I'm glad you included that because I wanted to hear it, but I wasn't gonna pick it for my next song, which we're bringing out Keith, and we're doing "Girl from the North Country" with Keith Richards.
Nice.
Playing the Johnny Cash part, I guess.
So that's the last song then, right?
No. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, because
it is. That's okay.
Gabe,
that's okay.
Gabe, is there a second encore?
No, I don't think so.
No?
That's okay.
All right.
No.
End it with Keith.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Yeah. I look
maybe
back
like even Jagger duetting on vocals, maybe even a little.
No,
bit.
Just Keith.
Just Keith.
No, I want Keith's vocals.
Keith with the Telecaster coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or acoustic, maybe. I don't know. Gosh, I look at the tunes and, like the tune that I didn't include that's one of my favorite Dylan songs is One More Cup of Coffee.
Yeah.
But I just didn't know. I just wasn't sure how it would sound live now. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I don't know if he plays it still. I don't think he does.
Yeah. I picked Free Will and Bob Dylan as my first Desert Island record, and I didn't pick one song off of it just because I don't think they would sound the best.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different beast. We didn't get Tombstone Blues in there. That's all right.
Yeah.
Maybe next time. All right, there you go, Dylan. Ol'chella.
Right.
It's done. Print it. Send it off to him. Tell him
scouting,
to learn it.
Scouting report complete.
Bob Dylan.
Beautiful. Well, Bob, if you're listening, we consider this. All right. So anyway, you can learn everything you need to know about rock and roll Shin-Soo at rockchew.com. You can find previous episodes, Show Your Cards episodes where we discuss some memorable baseball cards. And also you can find links, videos, links to purchase albums we've discussed. So check out rockchew.com for all of your rock and roll Shin-Soo Chew needs. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at rockin. That's in as in North Country, Chew. So rockin Chew. And like us on Facebook as well. Tell all your friends. And until next time, have a great night.
Right.
Peace, man.